A sprawling international manhunt underway this morning after thieves took priceless jewels from the Louvre Museum in Paris. The heist took just 7 minutes. Investigators say they used an angle grinder and a blowtorch to get inside the ornate Apollo gallery, and then they took off with 8 pieces of jewelry. They dropped a 9th piece during their escape. And this morning, there's real concern the jewels might never be recovered. CNN's Melissa Bell outside the Louvre this morning. I gotta say, an uproar in Paris over this.
Oh, there is. Such huge security breaches. The idea that these 4 men, we understand that they're looking for, could have broken into the room housing France's crown jewels, John, making off with such treasures of inestimable value. That's what French authorities are saying. This isn't so much about the price of the gems involved or the gold, although that would be considerable if it was all melted down and sold. It is that these are priceless objects when it comes to France's cultural heritage. You're talking about the crowns, the tiaras, the brooches, the earrings, the necklaces worn by the queens of France in the 19th century. So yeah, there's a great deal of outrage this morning in the French press. Many newspapers describing it as the heist of the century. So brazen was it, so quick was it, so efficient was it. These are, after all, we understand from investigators, extremely well-trained criminals who had very carefully plotted getting in and out of the Louvre Museum. Still, that it should have been impossible for that to happen at 9:30 a.m. in broad daylight when the museum was about as packed as it is now. This is what Paris looks like on a Monday morning or a Sunday morning. There were people everywhere. They managed to get in and out. There was some altercation, we understand, with one of the security guards inside. The alarms went off. The museum was evacuated. Still, they went off and got away down the quays of the Seine on their high-speed scooters, carrying at least 8 pieces of jewelry, having dropped the crown of the Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III, slightly damaged but at least retrieved. Now this manhunt is underway. We were just speaking out here to a French senator, John, who believes that none of the burglars, nor indeed any of these pieces of jewelry, are likely still even to be inside France. And so what authorities and investigators say, crucial period is that first 48 hours, and the clock is ticking. By tomorrow morning, we'll have reached it. And if nothing is found, it could be that we never get to the bottom of this at all.
The jewelry will be cut up or butchered and sold. I don't think anything else. We have to wait investigation. Maybe there will be a ransom, but I doubt. Seriously, regarding the price of the stone and the high level of the price of the gold, I doubt that these things will never come back.
So a lot of questions about whether this was a commission. These burglars took these pieces of jewelry for a private collection, say, to keep them intact, or whether, and this is the great fear that's increasingly being spoken of, they will have been stolen to be melted down, in which case these treasures would be lost to France for good.
Yeah, you break up the jewels, really almost no way to find them. Melissa, people see heist movies and they see lasers and high tech and computers here. From what it seems, these guys smashed a second-floor window, went in, grabbed the stuff, and left. Other than getting that sort of ladder up there, this didn't seem particularly high-tech.
These were pretty rudimentary pieces of equipment. An angle grinder, John, was used to smash open that window. The entire operation, from the moment they pulled up that truck with its mechanical lift, broke through the window, smashed through the display windows, grabbing those pieces of jewelry, and made their way back out, getting away on those scooters. 7 minutes in all. It took them very little time, but you're quite right. There is this sort of disconnect between the value, the pricelessness of what they've made off with, France's crown jewels after all, and the very basic equipment that they used to get in there. No fancy layers, no high-tech equipment, none of the Hollywood trappings that you would imagine for a heist as brazen, as spectacular, and as successful as this one.
Yeah, my jaw kept on dropping further and further to the floor as I was reading the details of this, just because of how easy it just seemed. Melissa Bell, great to have you there this morning. Please keep us posted. I know a lot of people concerned about this manhunt.
All right,
Sarah?
you're going to want to stick around for this, because joining us now is an expert on the matter, because he's a former jewel thief. Larry Lawton is here with us. All right, look, John just went over some of the things that happened. They used a truck that has a ladder that usually is used to lift things like furniture into windows on high floors. They used a grinder and a blowtorch to break the window. But that set off security alarms. This was in broad daylight while the Louvre was open, What does this tell you about these thieves?
Well, first off, it tells me that they planned this very well. I mean, to case this place, to know what equipment to take, even to know in the museum itself how to get through the glass. Was it alarmed? Was it extra strength glass? What they needed. They got out of there real quick. So they planned this very well with inside help for sure. They made a lot of mistakes as well, though. So I could go into that, but there's definitely well planned.
What are some of the mistakes you think they made? Because they did make off with a lot of jewels that are worth, we don't even know what, because they're considered priceless.
Well, there's a couple of ways they can get rid of the jewelry. I will go into that in a second.
Yeah.
But here's a mistake. They dropped one of these brooches. They only robbed, nine? I think it was 9 brooches, diamond-like pieces. Well, you just dropped a ninth of your whole entire load right there. That's an amateur move. I never dropped a piece of jewelry ever in 25 jewelry stores and $18 million. It's not going to happen. They also got the motorcycles caught right away. Yeah. I mean, they're done there. What are they going to find? They found a vest. They found one of the construction vests already. So they made a couple of, I call them amateur mistakes, but they did get away with a lot. Yeah. And obviously now, how do they get rid of it? That's the big thing.
That is the big question. They made off with, and we'll just go down some of the things they made off with: royal sapphire necklace, a royal emerald necklace, and the earrings to match, and a jeweled headband worn by Empress Eugenie, the wife of Napoleon III. So how hard is it? How would people like this go about selling something like this, which are historical in nature and worth who knows what?
Well, the people who robbed this don't care about the historical nature, which is just what it is. What they could do, there's 3 ways to do it. They could break them all up, sell the gold, sell the diamond. Listen, there's a lot of diamonds, and they're not what they call Lazar Kaplan, which is a laser cut diamond. These are old diamonds. These are cut with a hammer and a chisel, literally, a diamond chisel cutter. So they're really beautiful, and they're very sought after, even as small stones. So if they break them up, that's one way. Then they could also wait a while, and a lot of times the insurance companies will put out a reward. No questions asked. If they, it's a $5 million hit, they'll put out $1 million right now. And, people do that. They actually wait. I was around a bunch of criminals in prison, actually, who waited for that. So that's another way. Another way is to get like an eccentric person who really wanted something. Did somebody hire these people? I don't believe that, but you got to remember 3 things, very important. The guys who did this, they didn't just do it. You have to have cojones. You have to have guts, and what you want to call it, to go in there in the middle of the day, knowing people around, knowing you're on a clock, slip and fall, you're done, a whole bunch of stuff. Europe is having a big problem with museum robberies, actually, which is crazy. And museums got to step up their game. They really missed the boat, the Louvre. I mean, they never been hit, really, 1911 for the Mona Lisa. But, I mean, it's really, they never been hit. And I think after the German robbery in that museum, they have to start stepping up security in these facilities, because that's where I would go.
Larry Lawton, you taught us a lot about how this could go down, and noted that you never dropped a jewel. They did. It was a crown that they didn't make away with. So we're learning a lot from you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us.